Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I will be doing a review comparison of The Trench, the book by Steve Alten, and the movie Meg 2, The Trench, which I just watched like an hour ago. If you saw my review of The Trench, I gave it 3 stars. I feel like I probably have grade inflation on this channel. I tend to give things pretty high marks if I'm entertained. There were a number of things in The Trench that just annoyed me. So instead of getting a 4 or 5, it got a 3. That's pretty low for me. Now, I did like it. It was what I wanted, but there were just a number of things that kind of got on my nerves. So watch that video. It's from 2 months ago. I kind of listened to it on the way home from the movie, so I could remember a little bit about the book. But I'll just go over the similarities between the book and the movie. And this is one of those rare times where I read the book in advance of seeing the movie, knowing really anything about the movie. I am wearing my T20 Middlesex Cricket Club hat. I also got a throwback hat. So which one should I wear? I have to wear something because I've been wearing a hat today. Look at that. That's like a throwback. Should I wear that one? It kind of looks like a captain hat. I'll wear this one. I really do like this hat though. But, all right. So the similarities between them, what are they? Well, first, Jonas Taylor, the main character in the book, is also the main character in the movie. That's Jason Statham's character. And there is a shark, a megalodon. That's it. That's pretty much the only similarities between the movie and the book. The book is from 1999 and it is 2023. So we've had a nice chunk of time between 24 years. That was pretty quick math. 24 years between the book and the movie. Obviously, there's been a lot of advancements in that time, but not in the understanding of what is realistic and not realistic about a giant prehistoric shark. So the movie starts in the Cretaceous period. It's 65 million years ago, and it's kind of the part that I think has been in every trailer, but it's just a couple bugs get eaten by other bigger bugs, and then the bugs get eaten by lizards, and then the lizards get eaten by these, I don't know what they were. They were kind of like amphibious animals. They had nostrils on the top of their head, not a whale, and they had tails that could swim, but they also had legs, and they were feeding on a carcass, and they were eaten by a T-Rex, and then the T-Rex is eaten by a megalodon. That's the trailer. I think that was the first trailer that ever came out for the movie. That's how the movie starts, and then we go from 65 million years ago to present day. Jonas Taylor is kind of like call him an eco-terrorist, but let's just say he's well outside the law with the things he's doing. His wife from before is dead. Her name is not Terry in the movie. In the book, there was this oceanographic institute that was in California. In this movie, it's in China. This movie was produced by a Chinese company, CMC. Most of the characters are Chinese, although in the book, I believe they were all Japanese. Let's not just interchangeably use Asians like they were Japanese. It was a Japanese company in the book. But I think because it was so Chinese focused that it happened in China instead of California. Also, I felt like any scene that was, there was a place called Fun Island where tourists were. In those scenes, any American was either eating or obnoxious. I saw that. I focused on that. I'm not focused on it. I noticed that and I was like, hey, come on now. Hey, come on now. That's not how that book was. So in the book, we have this whole side story that's about organized crime that's funded by Osama bin Laden. Remember, this is 1999. None of that happens in here. There is a mogul. It's not a male, Benedict, from the book. It's a woman, and she's American, and she is a very bad person. There is some kind of side project going on, but it's a secret side project, where in the book it wasn't a secret. In this, it is, and we don't really know how, because it looks like it's poorly put together, even though everything else seems like it's well funded. There's no kind of race to save Terry. In the book, a megalodon gets out of kind of an aquarium, a tank that was really set up to hold gray whales. And this megalodon was basically being used as a prop, a show, kind of like a SeaWorld kind of show. Well, that megalodon got out. That megalodon was hot and wanted to get it on, and that's what she was doing. This megalodon was also hot, wanting to get it on, but it was more of like a research facility in China. And in the book, they spend a lot of time looking for her. There's this whole process of working with authorities to figure out where she is. She picks off a number of ships, boats. She kills a Coast Guardsman or 2 or 3 or whatever on a Coast Guard boat. There is Coast Guard in this, but it's some kind of like knockoff American. It's not American Coast Guard. It's not U.S. Coast Guard. But it looks like an MH-65 Dolphin, but like a knockoff. Like, it doesn't say U.S. Coast Guard, it just says Coast Guard. But it's still orange with the white racing stripe on the tail. But it's not. It's made to look like a Dolphin, which is a French aircraft, but it's not. So I'm guessing they probably didn't get buy-in or cooperation from the U.S. Coast Guard's Motion Picture Office in L.A. That's just, I'm going out there on a limb and saying that. And if they did, it wasn't a great job, because the helicopter looked pretty bad. So instead of looking for the shark just gets out. And in the book, sharks are pretty violent towards each other, even megalodons. In this, they're all just like, hey, let's just swim together and have a party. There's some explosion, and then that explosion creates a hole in the thermocline, which was like this layer of very cold water that was separating the super hot vent area, hydrothermal vents, deep in the Mariana Trench that Megalodon was living in, and they got out. But not just Megalodon. There were also the animals that we saw 65 million years ago. And these things had not evolved. They still had legs. We're led to believe that they've spent 65 million years or so in the trench. But they just kept legs so they could walk on land, and they kept lungs and nostrils and everything so they could breathe on land, but they were isolated underwater in the trench. What? And then they go on land, and they wreak havoc on Fun Island. That's kind of bullshit too, because they have no idea how to walk. They haven't walked in 65 million years. Okay? They look exactly the same. They even have the same coloring. You don't need coloring when you're in the bottom of the ocean. There shouldn't be any color. There's so many things that happened in this. There's at one point Jonas has to get out of an airlock to save them, and they're 25,000 feet down. And Jonas opens the airlock and swims to another door, and he's just kind of blowing out a little bit. At 25,000, like, what? And he does it. And he's not like kind of like the nerdy sub-operator. He is like Mr. Kick-Ass. He can fight and beat people up. Big thugs. So not only do we have these weird, pretty small reptilian amphibious kind of weird things that are basically the size of a large dog. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. Maybe like a crocodile, size of a crocodile or an alligator or something. Not a big one, just a moderate sized one. I don't know. I forgot what they were called in the book. But let me just say that it's kind of like something. We took my daughter to the Natural History Museum at the Smithsonian, and we saw a skeleton of something that I thought may have been what they mentioned in the trench. I'm just going to show you that skeleton now so you can have an idea of the general size I think that the animals were in the book. Okay, so not only do we have this other weird thing that can still walk and has nostrils and coloring and seems to be just fine, jumping all over land in a more athletic way than a lot of animals that have developed on land for millions of years. A giant, not squid, a giant octopus comes up. Now, what is the first thing that the giant octopus is going to do? Now, and don't forget that this giant octopus came through a hole in the thermocline that was pretty far out near the Marianas Trench. Well, the first thing that this giant octopus wants to do is screw around with humans that are hanging out on a dock. What? That's what you think? That's what it felt like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea meets Popeye the Sailor Man with Robin Williams. And it was just like, these things are just seeking out humans, which they've never seen before. They haven't evolved in millions of years to interact with humans. And somehow they're like, hey, I'm going to go over to this resort and just pick people up and throw them and hit stuff with them. That's just stupid. And why not a giant squid? Why not something a little more believable than a giant octopus? I don't know. Things blow up. There's a little annoying girl. Not because the actress. She's just like, everything that you tell her to do, she ignores. And people can die because of that in this movie. You just want to be like, look, listen to your dad. Listen to your dad. I made a mistake. It's not her dad. It was just a family friend. Sorry. Because when you don't listen, people die. There's this whole kind of cover up on this oil platform, a deep sea oil platformy kind of thing. And it turns out some of the people they're working with are actually working for this rich lady who's funding them. And she wants to kill them. And then she decides, this rich woman who doesn't want this connected to her, decides to go out to this island to help kill the people, but she just sits in the helicopter. I mean, this isn't even really comparing it to the book, because besides the title, The Trench, and Meg to the Trench, and that Jonas Taylor's in it, and there's a megalodon shark, there's no other commonality between the two. The shark gets out from an aquarium-ish kind of thing. Kind of, right? And that even is just glazed over. There are so many inaccuracies. I mentioned in my review of The Trench that evolution can't work the other way with the way they were explaining it. This reptile that decided that it was going to live in the trench 7 miles down. You can't just like... There's quite a jump to go from I need to get up and breathe air on the surface to I'm going to go 7 miles down and hold my breath and live for millions of years after that. It's not going to happen. Did I like the movie? No, I didn't. I felt like they didn't show enough of the sharks, especially our main shark. A lot of times you didn't know which one was which. It was just a lot of like super fast attacks with no like lead up, some jump scare kind of stuff, but it was just kind of like, oh, look at all this stuff going on. And then it's like, oh, sharks came. They're going to eat stuff. They're going to attack things. They're stupid. Shine lights at them. That'll distract them. Cool. And then we're going to throw these other things out that will climb on land. And then we'll just throw in a giant octopus in the middle of this. And that's our movie. I didn't like that all the Japanese references turned into Chinese references. I didn't like that all the American parts turned into Chinese parts. I don't know. It felt like the first movie, which I saw before I read the Meg. It felt like the first movie in that it was just kind of action, but not a lot of depth. And I never really felt bad for the people being eaten. There were no characters. I was like, man, I really hope this person pulls through here. I just was like, eat them, whatever. Kill the sharks. Don't kill the sharks. Sink submarines. Don't sink submarines. I didn't care. I didn't care what happened. There were enough inaccuracies or just kind of like plot holes or times where they're just like, science? Fuck it. Let's just say that Jonas doesn't care about 25,000 feet of ocean above him. He's just going to swim it out. While he's going to swim it, he's also going to see. Have you ever opened your eyes underwater? In the ocean? How far can you see? I was like, do it right now. Just like, do this. Can you see me? I don't know what you're doing. Because I'm recording this and I'm asking you to do that later. In the movie, he can just see the shark plainly. Like, he's adapted to seeing underwater too. Oh, shit. Bullshit. So, I watched it. I was not impressed. It kind of did the things that annoyed me about the book, but like took an extra step into the more ridiculous. The things that I didn't like about the book were even more extreme. And then some of the things I did like about the book were just kind of glossed over. And I don't know. So I think this is one of those books to movies experiences where you could just tell that they didn't give a shit about the material that they were basing it off of. They said, hey, let's say it's the trench. Cool, let's bring back Jason Statham and the shark. Do we want to do anything else? Nah. Has anybody read the book? Nah. And that's where we are. That's it. There was Coast Guard, fake Coast Guard in this. And the movie came out on the Coast Guard's 233rd birthday. So happy late birthday to the Coast Guard. And thank you for not apparently supporting this movie with Coast Guard assets. That's it. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.